welcome back everybody on Twitch and on YouTube, as today we're going to finally kick off the coverage of the high elo bracket in the Newbie and the Beast tournament that I'm hosting. Very excited to kick this off. Some of these games that we'll be casting have been played a couple of weeks ago already, but sadly, due to the exact overlap with my travels, it was impossible for me to cover all of that. But back from Korea now, got my setup back here. We're ready to dive in. And so let's first of all actually introduce this tournament format, because it is quite different from the mid-elo bracket that we just concluded yesterday on the stream. Actually, it was only on YouTube, so you can go to my YouTube channel if there's any games from the mid-elo bracket of this tournament that you'd like to check out as well. However, this is high elo bracket, and in this bracket we haven't covered any games yet, so we're starting at 0-0, and no results are in yet as far as we know. I myself have not been spoiled yet about this tournament either, so we'll see. We'll find out together how these games actually went. That being said, what is the actual format of this high elo bracket? It is quite easy. We have 5 teams. You can see those right here. The arrows mark the teams that we'll be playing today, that we'll see in this first series here. And yeah, it's these 5 teams, and they'll be playing in a single round robin with best of 3s. Each of these teams will play one best of 3 against each other, and whoever wins the most of these series gets first place. Now it's 5 teams. The first 3 places, gold, silver and bronze, so to speak, will receive some prize money, and overall I'm hoping for some fun games here. The best of 3s themselves will look exactly like the ones in the mid-elo bracket, in terms of game 1 being a 2v2 on Nomad, and then for games 2 and 3 the teams being able to decide if they want to have the 1v1 between the lower tier players or between the higher tier players on each team first, and then we'll go from there. Whoever wins 2 games first is able to get the series victory. I hope this didn't sound more complicated than it is, because it really isn't that difficult. Either way, I say let's just jump into this first series here between Dragon MbL and aleksanderG Mihai. This is actually the matchup that we saw in our show match already for this tournament, and that series was won by Aleksander and Mihai with a score of 2-1. So maybe they can do it again. I consider them underdogs in terms of elo, and well, just yeah, I personally just not expect them to be that amazing, but they look really good in that show match. So maybe this is really even footing here. If I'm taking just a look at the live ladder right now, we have MbL sitting at rank 7, Mihai down at rank 21, not that far apart, but that is still about 200 elo, well, 150 elo difference. And at the start of this tournament, which at this point is a couple of months ago already, the elos between Dragon and aleksanderG were also a little bit apart, like 50 elo apart, with an advantage for Dragon there. So that's why I consider Dragon and MbL favorites, but they'll have to get some revenge here for the show match. Well, let's see if it worked out for them. I say we jump into the game here. Game 1 in series number 1 of this tournament. Again, I'm streaming this live on Twitch, but it's also going to be uploaded to YouTube as a VOD. Now, this is the first match. It's the 2v2 on Nomad, and if you recall in the show match, that was a little bit different there. Back in the show matches, we had the 2v2 last, and that was actually the match that MbL and Dragon were able to win. So maybe they can get off to a better start in this series here. Let's check out the civilizations first. As for Mihai and Aleksander, we have the Lithuanians and the Vietnamese, 2 civs that are relatively common for Nomad, but maybe not the S tier one. Well, no, I shouldn't say this. Vietnamese are super popular civilization. One of the big edges that they give you is that, of course, the starting locations of your opponents will be revealed to you. Now, at this current point, obviously, you can see here at the minimap, you don't have an idea where the enemy is building their TC, but as soon as it gets up, you'll get the vision there and you'll know exactly where the enemies are at. That's one of the amazing bonuses that the Vietnamese have for this map. But just in general, they are a super good civilization in terms of their eco and their military options. They have a lot of good units to go into, right? I mean, the archers, amazing. Skirmishers, super good. They get knights as well, right? Pretty decent ones even. And with the extra HP from the archery range units, you can also go into some pretty decent tanky cav archers. And there you have it. The TC is going up for MbL and Dragon. And thanks to the Vietnamese, they get the exact location there. And what a fun setup this is. We've seen this way too rarely in this tournament. Actually seeing both teams in sort of a 1v1 situation here, right? You have Mihai and Dragon relatively close, so that's the newbie against the beast on one team. Then you have MbL really close to aleksanderG, so another really close setup between these newbie and beasts. And the term newbie here is, of course, meant to be applied much more figuratively than anything else. It's just to separate between the high-elo pro-level player and the more casual mid-elo player. But of course, since this is the high-elo bracket, even the so-called newbies are super competent players. It's just a label, guys. I hope nobody is offended by it. Oh, just maybe to close out the civilization review for Team Romania here, Mihai actually playing as the Lithuanians is maybe the little less common civilization for Nomad, but it's still decent. It always used to be one of the favorite picks on hybrid or water maps because you get that extra food in the early game. That makes it a bit smoother with your villager production. But since that bonus was nerfed a couple of months ago, maybe the Lithuanians not as high priority on those types of maps anymore. We'll see how this actually goes. Of course, one of the strongest parts of the Lithuanian identity is that relic bonus, that extra attack on the heavy cavalry for every relic that you gather up until 4. Let's see where the relics are actually at on this map. There's one relic relatively close to Mihai. He'll be very happy about that, I suppose. One in the very middle of the map here, so that it'll be a bit more difficult. One in the very east that maybe could be possible for Mihai to grab at some point as well. And that's just 3 that I've been able to find so far. Another one here in the very west. That looks rather difficult to get to. And for the 5th one, oh yeah, that is in the very, very north. But maybe with some transport action at some point you could be able to get there. Anyways, let's also take a quick look at the civilizations for their opponents, and that is going to be Koreans and Malay. Man, I love me some Koreans. That is no secret, of course. Koreans and Malay we have in this one are 2 very popular water civilizations in general. We'll see how they'll do here. I think good civs from Nomad. Koreans super popular there because, among other things, that extra vision they get on their villages is really good if you want to do, well, if you're scouting with your villagers a bit, right? Even if you're not sending them out to scout directly, your villagers will still uncover a big area of the map just by walking to the spot where you want to build your TC. You can really see how much vision that one villager has. That is not the house with town watch, that is the villager. Seeing a lot here. And so, oh, Dragon here picking a civilization. That is considered pretty high tier for Nomad. But not only, of course, because of the villager vision, also because tower plays can be extremely potent with the Koreans. Their navy is really nice because of the discount and the turtle ship that you're able to build in starting in Castle Age. Pretty underrated unit, I hope we'll see it. Just came back from my Korea trip and went to inspect some more turtle ships there. It is just a beautiful thing of history and of AOE2. So I would love to see some in this game as well. Okay, but last and not least, the Malay for the highest elo player in this game. MbL, well, has picked up another pretty good water civ for himself, although his stock villager seems to have gotten walled in here, which is always a bit inconvenient, to say the least. That might give him an idea that the Vietnamese are actually quite close, and yeah, actually he knows about this TC location already. So he'll not be surprised by that. Malay really nice for these types of maps. Among other things, because of their fast up times, which is always amazing on water maps, right? Where you're able to usually get a villager lead because you spend less time advancing to the next stage. But more importantly, you're usually the first to feudal age and thus able to create warships before any other player, which usually gives you a good start in feudal when contesting the water, if that is what you're choosing to do. Fish traps being much better for them than any other civ as well helps with the water economy if you're able to control it, that is. And free infantry armor, even that is just a really good bonus that Malay received there. So yeah, but I think the most maybe surprising civ that we're seeing in this matchup is the Lithuanians for Mihai, if I was asked. But maybe what makes that pick more understandable is that Mihai and Alexander opted for one clear cavalry civ, one clear archer civ, whereas MbL and Dragon, they don't really have that. They don't have a cavalry civilization at all, I would argue, unless MbL is going heavily into elephants, who knows. Might be a thing, but there we see what I was talking about, right? MbL able to get that feudal age on the way, and doesn't even have loom yet, does he? No, he does not. Actually, surprising to me, he's still sitting on that 100 gold. Well, he's going now 5 to gold here, but I am surprised by this, him not having any loom picked up when his enemy is so close to him, aleksanderG, who did pick up loom. So maybe that could turn out a bit difficult at some point. Yeah, good job by Alexander keeping this wall up, so that one villager is at least denied here. For MbL, double dog is up, and Mihai as well up with a very early time here, going for his Lithuanians, and actually seems to be doing an FC as well. That is interesting. He's up super early, the earliest out of everybody, and he's going to do an FC? Well, that means probably everybody is going to do one, aren't they? Well, we'll see about that. If the first guy that's up is doing an FC, then anything else for the other guys would be a bit unusual. Now we have dragons, feudal age, and if we just look at the resources, they are all looking very FC-like, but my goodness, respect to Mihai. Already up on the way to castle age. That is highly respectable. Well, his teammate there, aleksanderG, of course, right next to MbL, has to be a scary spot to be in. Let's see how well this is going to go for him. As, yeah, the navy coming out for MbL is being a bit annoying here. And MbL actually not able to click up to castle age just yet. Well, Dragon is actually up. MbL not directly, decided to go for some navy here actually, with the 5 on gold. Let's see if he's going to be able to do any more damage with that. Has pinged the opponent's dock here in the very east. Dragon up on the way to castle age. Not extraordinary, is on stone as well, so expecting a castle there. For Mihai, same thing though, and he's got the better time here, almost a minute earlier, and has a million on stone here. Really wants to make sure this is like the direct shortest route to castle drop that you could imagine. He wants to get his hands dirty soon. Now finally MbL also able to click up, but of course with the shorter uptime that the Malay offer, he'll have a very competitive FC time as well. And last guy here, aleksanderG, also now on the way to the next stage. So barely any feudal age play at all in this one. Everybody with their docks quite far apart from each other probably makes it difficult to get involved on the water early. And there we have Mihai coming forward, going for a very aggressive castle, and it's half a minute before Dragon can react with her own castle here. Of course she will see this because she's Korean, so she has a lot of vision on those villages. She knows that this castle is coming up. Well, and the TC is there as well. But man, this is really difficult to defend just because of that really fast uptime that Mihai has had. Where's the counter castle going to come out for Dragon? It's going to be here in the very west. Apparently she's going to concede this area where around her original TC. It's going to migrate a bit west where she's got a bunch of bonus resources there. It's not a terrible idea, I would say. But castle for Mihai up extremely fast, and he can start latest production now. And latest and early castle age, one of the strongest units that you have already, with the monastery up and a monk on the way as well. So he's going to get latest, and he's going to potentially even get some relics to boost their attack, which is going to be so difficult for the Koreans to handle. Siege Workshop coming out for Dragon. I wonder if that is what you need against Lithuanians. I would have thought maybe we see some barracks, we see a bunch of pikemen. That's what I would have expected, or maybe just a monastery to get some monks out, which is the most useful tool against Latis, usually. And for Dragon, it's now about getting to 100 stone, getting a bunch more wood, and then getting a new TC up, because this original one is going to die at some point. aleksanderG coming up with his own castle on MbL right now. MbL, who hasn't gathered any stone, so can't drop a counter castle here, is just going to have to abandon this area for some time. It seems, as on water, Mihai also seems to have a pretty decent navy, but Dragon and MbL together trying to combat it. Doesn't look like they quite have the numbers right now. Dragon, meanwhile, buying some wood to potentially get the TC up in another spot, I assume. Oh, that fast castle there for Mihai, that was devastating. The Romanians looking really good here, I can't lie. Fire ships versus fire galleys, though. MbL with the upgrade on the water, not bad. Too late is now into his eco, though. That is gonna be tough to handle. Look at those. 13 attack, ignoring armor. Well, these miners here, they might have loom now, but they might as well not have it, because this latest, they're ignoring the armor anyways. Ouch for MbL. He is losing all of that right now. No monks ready just yet. That monastery was a little bit late. Good wall, finally. Really nice quick walling here. Able to save these villagers now. Think might have had a chaotic fight on the water, but nicely done with the monk on garrison 2. Deletion comes in wisely from Mihai. That was good play there. So MbL salvaging the situation, but a little bit late on that. Well, and Mihai on 2 TCs, third one coming up already now, gathering some of these relics. Oh boy, that is Lithuanians in their bag, so to speak. Second TC also now for MbL, well, third TC one might say, but that is likely going to fall soon. And some Rattans now from the Vietnamese too, really good against archers and projectile damage in general. But you can see even with these individual archers, microing against MbL's Mangonels, and MbL possibly the best Mangonel player in the game. But against singular units, it's so difficult to play with Mangonels. Is aleksanderG going to be able to actually micro this down and chip away at it until it dies? He might very well be. MbL pressured immensely here, and now, oh, ungarrisons the gold villagers, but they are the latest to clean up. Such nice coordination from the Romanian team here. Oh, going to kill a lot more villagers there from MbL. Still, it's about a 10 eco units lead for Team Dragon and MbL. They've got the score lead too, but I like the aggression, the activity here from Mihai and Aleksander. They are being quite oppressive here with that initial castle. And of course, it seems like there were 2 conversions as well on war wagons that I didn't catch. But great play with the monks there from Mihai. They are putting on a show here in this first game. This 2v2. Remember, in the show match, it was MbL and Dragon that were able to win this 2v2 on Nomad. Now that it's the real deal, Aleksander and Mihai seem to have come prepared. That's finally all that TC about to go down there for Dragon. Trying her best to keep the repairs coming. And she's definitely not going down without a fight. I mean, I just want to compliment the so-called newbie players in this game here. They're both trapped in a 1v1 essentially against the opponent's pro player, and they're holding up so well. Both Dragon and Aleksander doing an amazing job here, annoying their counterparts. And Dragon definitely not going down easily here, sitting on 1 TC now though, and she's being given a bit of a tough time here with that performance Mihai is putting on with his Lithuanians. Has 2 relics already. Ugh! Which units can deal with latest and castle age? 2 relics already in the bag. I mean, monks is the only thing that even does anything, isn't it? So another war wagon goes down in the north here. MbL going to get that TC up, which is going to be much needed to protect against the latest. It's got nice gold resources there, and a TC on the second one, so resources right now aren't really the problem for Team MbL, but the villager gap has completely been closed, and in fact it seems the Romanians are going to be taking the villager lead, which is being reflected in the score situation as well, although 0 fish for them. So their eco numbers are all just villages, whereas Dragon and MbL, a lot of fish included in those numbers. Oh, another big raid, I should say, by Lattice and Rattan archers. They are so tanky, they're not even taking damage from the TC fire, really. Look at this. Man, this is some BS, isn't it? These units just so amazing at raiding. Lattice one-shotting everything, and then Rattan archers just tanking up the arrow fire as if it was nothing. Another forward castle going to be attempted there by Alexander, but MbL comes out with his own defensive one here between the town centers, really running out of space here. Well, the eco numbers might look close, but the space on the map is just being taken away from MbL, and Dragon has a really nice Mangonel shot lands here. The Rattan archers, MbL is just so good with this. Look at how little idle time this Mangonel has. He shoots and keeps moving immediately. Such a nice control of that unit. Gets that castle up, and he's got all these rests there, but is he able to take those as more Lattice and Rattan archers start pouring in here? Conversions attempted, coming through. One of the latest, that is going to pay off, and good Mangonel shot as the siege weapon goes down in the end. Scorpion sadly almost useless against Rattan archers as well. Well, I don't actually know the numbers, but with that high pierce armor, that's not the first unit I'd think of when I see Rattans and how to counter them. Well, okay, Dragon. She's trying to push back here. Great job with the rams. That's what the siege workshop was ultimately used for, apparently. Now pushing forward. This castle is is she able to get a castle up here? I mean, that would be huge, but Mihai reads this super well, puts up a defensive castle pretty far back, just wants to secure his position because he knows he's got an amazing economy. Even gets fletching now as the castle is strong, and Dragon going to have to abandon this plan after seeing that castle go up. Both castles have also gone up here in MbL space again, so he's getting more and more space taken away from him, but still has an army of 3 monks and a converted Lattice to try and, well, get something back with. Mihai just crazy with the expansion, though. Drops another 2 town centers here in his backyard, where it's basically not being contested at all. The water control from Team Dragon and the MbL is certainly nice. No fish, no navy for the opponents. But Mihai, on the way to Imp, has that 1 castle still left, and is going to have 5 town centers if the ones here in the very east actually end up going up. Whereas MbL, the beast player on his team, is well, looking very different here. Also has 4 TCs, but look at the space that he's controlling. It's so hard. Can't take any wood from that wood line. TC here about to go down. The stone mine is then going to be quite exposed. So at this point, it's hard to say. Really, the score situation is pretty even. Controlling the water is really huge. So I'd say maybe I'd favor MbL and Dragon's position if they're able to weather that early imp time from Mihai. But I'd be quite worried because Mihai is the single highest score player in this game. Maybe he's just able to run away with it in early imp. It's really hard to say at this point. It's a very entertaining one, guys. It's super competitive. Not a bad game whatsoever. And, MbL tried another TC here, but apparently was denied by these Rattan archers. That would be a pretty terrifying castle here if it goes up for aleksanderG. Oh no, well, we have Dragon trying to push forward with towers here. That is peak Korean gameplay. Battering through houses with villagers, getting more and more towers up. She's trying her best here, using that stone she was intending on castle dropping with to do some tower action here. But as soon as Mihai gets imp here in half a minute, he's just going to have trebuchets, and as amazing and long ranged as Korean towers are, they're not going to be able to outrange trebuchets really. Karambits for MbL now to try and free this space up. Okay, Alexander, this castle, this could be crucial. MbL working on his own defensive castle. I'm not sure if this is going to go up for Alexander, but it looks like he has this corner here in the east where he's able to still work on it, so he should be able to complete it, although the Karambit has been quite annoying. The castle is going to complete in the end, and that takes more eco space away from MbL. what resources can he even take still? He's doing a great job continuously getting more TCs up, but he's also been denied in a couple of spots already, so it is tough. Dragon has a pretty decent army of warbagons here, but fighting against an Imperial Age opponent, it is gonna be super tough. Trebuchet is being queued up there by Mihai. Also in this northern castle here, gonna start working away at these towers very quickly, and still raiding with the latest here in MbL space, and you can see how much distraction or damage a single latest can even cause. It is tough, right? I really think Mihai is in a good spot here, but one thing that Dragon did accomplish is that relic was, or that monastery was destroyed, so 2 relics now laying around here. Takes away some of that punch that the latest usually pack. Okay, MbL also about to hit Imperial Age. A lot of rams available here to Dragon. Is she going to try to rush the trebuchets with the rams or something? I'm not sure. There's no military units here on land for Mihai right now, but he's queued up some latest and they wouldn't have any trouble dealing with the rams. Thankfully he's reacting really nicely here with the house and gate wall. That is amazing timing as the warbagons come in. And MbL hits Imperial Age. Dragon also in the way up. Great house walling here by Mihai. Just buying himself as much time as he needs. Gets a couple of these towers to go down. And the rams, they are not going to be able to access this castle or these trebuchets. Mihai able to pull back with them. And conversions tempted on either side. But remember, Dragon isn't an Imperial Age yet. So the best monk upgrades, they aren't in yet. Monk's gonna have to dive underneath that castle, but really nice job getting this conversion there. That might be a monk going down, but great garrison for Mihai as well. This is a nice battle here. Dragon and trading punches with some of the best here. And same thing, of course, has to be said for Alexander, who's going to have to be wary now. Still 2 minutes away from Imp and getting trapped away yet. Is this the point where MbL and Dragon can free themselves? Can, well, punch their way out of the position they've been cornered into? We'll see about that. That really is a lot of latest here for Mihai, but he'd be really well off if he was able to pick up these relics. Oh, what is this? Race between 2 old men, and it's Dragon who wins the race, but the monk might end up dying after all as these latest dive in. Great job dropping the relic, getting a conversion here. That might work wonders in this battle. There's a lot of latest diving forward. Max armor upgrade on these horses. They're so strong. Look at these quick wars in the midst of the battle. Like crazy gameplay here on all sides. The trebuchet shots being fired on these Korean Imperial Age keeps. It's not a sponsorship. Don't censor me, YouTube. No, man, this is a really tough battle between these two sides. Just looking at the numbers though in terms of eco, 130 villagers, fully boomed late game Lithuanians here. It's quite scary against these. Maybe now that Alexander has kind of been pushed back a bit, that castle has gone down. What can MbL do? Is he going to continue pushing here, or maybe he can help out with Mihai in the south? Because as well as Dragon has been playing, she's only on 60 villagers right now, 13 fishing ships. Her army is decent, no doubt, but if she loses it, she can't really replace it. Whereas Mihai, with that fully boomed economy, shouldn't have any trouble trading blows here and keeping up the push. So I wonder if maybe this is the time where MbL and Dragon start to be wanting here in the south. As right now, at least, MbL still pushing forward here with the Mangano, with the trap. Bunch of Karambit diving into. Remember, free armor upgrades for the infantry. Dives forward. That castle seems to be going down. A bunch of Rattan and villagers might follow with it. Amazing value gained by MbL, but now finally the same thing can be said for Mihai as he's pushing forward against Dragon here in the southern part. These towers are all going to go down, but it is really good choice getting all of these towers up, because that buys you so much time. Even if you don't have a lot of army, the opponent will have to clean up all of those with the trebuchets. It quite delays the push. Score situation at this point, 1500 advantage for the Romanian team. Trebuchets from MbL still raining down shots undeterred, and he's raiding with the Karambits. He's doing a lot of damage up north here. Is it going to be enough to make up for the southern front now, going a bit awry here, as the conversions from Mihai, giving Dragon some trouble. She's getting a conversion back here at least, but the military numbers, look at this, that is what I was talking about a minute ago. There's no army in the field anymore for Dragon, and look at her resources, they are really strapped thin. She's gonna have trouble replacing those losses, doesn't have any more stone either to drop more towers. She's playing on board time here, and so is Alexander in the north, who's now with villagers trying to rush down the trebuchets. It's not working out for him though, and it's going to be another castle going down. The problem might be though that even if both the beast players win their fronts, you see it right here, Mihai much more boomed up, seems quite a bit stronger than MbL right here. So as well as MbL is doing in the north, it's now actually Mihai that comes and attacks him from the backside. MbL running in some heavy trouble right now. He's down to 50 villagers, and his army, it's also kind of fizzling out right now. It looks like from the push from Team MbL is going to actually be stopped right here, and this should be Mihai just rolling in the map. Look, wait, what is this? The castle wall. Okay. Okay, well, that is one expensive wall setup here, and Mihai is coming in with the triple castle drop. Alright, MbL goes to GG, the castle rush, right? I mean, what a game. Mihai runs away with it in the end, but that was just 4 players playing on a really high level, trading blows, going at each other here. That was super enjoyable, and again we have the Romanian team coming out on top here after the show match, continuing to play really, really well against MbL and Dragon specifically. Then they're not doing a bad job here for sure. Let's go over here real quickly as I go to try load up the next game. 1-0 now to Mihai and Alexander. That means MbL and Dragon can choose now which game they want to play next, right? It's a best of 3, so they need to win both of the next 2 games, but of course they can't afford to lose any more. So they get to choose. Do they want to have Dragon play against Alexander next, or do they want to have MbL against Mihai? They have an elo advantage in both of these matchups, but yeah, so they'll get to choose. Let's actually check for the game 2 file. I'll see which one here we have here as game number 2. As I see it, it seems to be Alexander against Dragon. Could be wrong, but that is what it looks like to me. So I believe it is Alexander against Dragon for game 2. So yeah, it seems to be that is what they picked. Again, that was the choice of Dragon and MbL. They get to select which game they want to play. If they want the 1v1 between the newbies or between the beasts, and it seems to have been the choice that the newbies play their 1v1 next. I don't have a draft, sadly, because we have a map draft and a Civ draft for all the 1v1s, of course. But just to explain very quickly, the map draft is very easy. There's 3 maps in the pool: Arabia, Lowland, and Enclosed. Both players get to choose one map. The opponent will not get to see their choice. And then when the choices are revealed, there's 2 different scenarios. If both players ended up selecting the same map, then that map will be played. If both players ended up selecting different maps, let's say Dragon selects Arabia, Alexander selects Enclosed, then neither of these maps will be played, and the third map that was not selected by anybody will be the one used in the game, and that in that case would have been Enclosed. Yeah, so I don't have the drafts here, sadly, but we can just dive in here real quick. Actually, I'll adjust capture age so we have we'll get a good sense of what the matchup is here. So we've got, okay, well, good, this should be decent enough. Let's jump in then. There we have game number 2, match point for Mihai and Alexander. But MbL Dragon, they got to select what they wanted here. And it is it is Dragon playing against Alexander. So it is the matchup between the two newbie level players. Again, both very competent here. We are in the high elo bracket after all. Dragon around 1750 elo, if I got this right, and Alexander around 1700. At least that was the case in at the start of this tournament a couple of months ago. The elos could, of course, have changed significantly since then. Now, for the Civ matchup, we are on Arabia after all, so either both of these players picked Arabia as the map for this game, or, well, neither player did, and they picked Enclosed and Lowland, respectively. Either way, we have settled for this map, and so it's the Chinese for Dragon, which is, of course, one of the premier civilizations, always has been ranked quite highly on most players' Arabia tier lists. Dragon with 39 seconds of idle TC time. I'm not a Chinese player myself, but I think this is a little bit on the higher end. I think most pro players will have a little less idle TC time with the Chinese early on. But yeah, for a 1750 player, I don't know how this idle time compares. I don't know if it's great, if it's bad. Yeah, not very familiar with the Chinese myself there. But still, the reason for this idle time is that extra 3 villager number you get at the start of the game. So usually with the Chinese you have good early game economy lead with those 3 extra villas. Now, of course, she kind of loses 2 villagers there to the idle time that she'll have, but with Loom already picked up, that is an advantage. So she still should have a 1 villager lead throughout the early game from here on out if she manages it properly. Now, what are the strengths of the Chinese? Behind that usual early game eco lead that you'll have, you'll typically say great archer play, but not only that, because the Civ is actually more flexible. Of course, you'd want to go towards Chukunu in most late game scenarios, because the damage output on that unit is just ridiculous. We see 2 early ballers here for Dragon, indicating to me maybe she's looking to do very early uptime. No, the Chinese are more flexible. They have a perfect blacksmith, as you see right there at the bottom. Not only that, but all technologies are also reduced in cost throughout the game, starting in Feudal Age. So actually encouraging the Chinese to play a bit more of a variable style, go into more options. And we'll see how Dragon will exploit that in this game. Can definitely go into some cavalry stuff as well. Even infantry. I mean, the blacksmith offers all the opportunities that you would want. On the other side then, it is again the melee. This time around for Alexander, not for MbL. But still, we saw this civilization in the last game already, and I commented on how it is a very popular naval civilization for those water maps. However, the craziest part is it's also really good on Arabia, where there's no water at all. Well, we got a pond Arabia in this one, so actually maybe some fish booming will come on. But in all seriousness now, there's good reasons to pick melee even on non-water maps, such as, of course, that crazy uptime here, the reduced time it takes to get to the next age, which is so good. Because you get not only the faster age up there, not only are you able to get to the next age before your opponent is, but you'll also just get more villagers, because the less time you spend researching the next age, the more time you'll have trying, well, to make villagers. So that's why melee have a really good bonus for any map with that one. Then again, free infantry armor. I say this always. That is just one of these bonuses that you kind of don't notice as much, but it is really impactful, right? Just imagine, just think about the couple of spearmen that you throw in most games, right? Or even if not, I mean, if you ever need men at arms, longswords against potential eagle plays or whatever, that helps out in that regard. So, and your karambits, of course, right? Even if you don't want to play infantry all game, you just use some karambits to raid with. That is the perfect upgrades that you need for them. So, really nice bonus to have on that front as well. Okay, now let's actually see, as both players are advancing to the feudal age, how this will start off. We see militia queued up for Alexander, trying to be quite aggressive here in the early game. scout forward as well, and we'll have about 40 seconds faster uptime there than Dragon. With her Chinese has the option of going archers or scouts, but it seems like more of a scout opening for her, as she's not on gold yet at all. That's the two lumber camps set up. This one is really nice. I mean, look at the big wood line protecting that lumber camp. Map seems quite wallable there on that front here. But that being said, with the very early attack of the militia, it might be a bit difficult for her. It does a good job here with the resource walls on the mill, so it's going to be protected there, although it is quite dangerous there if the opponent does end up going for men-at-arms. That is always a bit scary. Those units really good at breaking through walls. It seems like it's only going to be the two militia though, for Alexander, who's now going to go into archers behind this. For Dragon, well, I mean, usually when you're getting hit with militia or men-at-arms, you want an archery range to defend against, and that's what she's going to try to do right now. And so, Alexander coming out with archers behind this is more, even going to encourage this archery range more. It is a bit of an awkward spot though. This area she doesn't really have control over yet, so trying to get the archery range up there is a bit difficult, and you can see she lost a villager for it. It's a very chaotic game. The idle time hasn't actually gone up for either of these players, but we see here a bit of a mistake there from Dragon at the food not underneath the TC. So the hectic game is making it difficult, and there comes the first archer from Alexander being super active, and I think right about now is when Dragon regrets placing that archery range as far forward as she did. That is not the spot you want to have to fight over right now without any archers. Well, that is quite annoying. Look at the fight, it's all over the place. It is quite messy, having to pull some villagers. Well, that archer is still giving her so much trouble. Not the start the Chinese were looking to get here. And great early pressure from Alexander, who's managed to keep Dragon open, coming forward with more and more archers actually, and doesn't even have to worry about scouts or anything else. Doesn't even need to send spearmen with him, can just send the archers forward whenever they're coming out of the factory, fresh out of the oven, and gets big returns here. Woodline in the south also quite harassable, although I don't think Alexander has spotted that. Also really nice walls at home for him. Yeah, doesn't really see that lumber camp down here, but sort of has scouted it. Now finds out about the northern one, and that has to be abandoned by Dragon too. Look at her eco, it is quite inefficient here. At least she has both the feudal age eco upgrade, so the farms aren't as expensive or as inefficient. Still, she has to call it here. Wow! What an early pressure from Alexander. Just completely rolling this game. And that is serious. It really is. As fast as that, as amazing and competitive and close as the game 1 was on Nomad, Alexander just coming up with a very assertive strategy here. And militia into archers super fast. For Dragon, well, I like the early approach. She also got up pretty fast to feudal age. That was actually pretty nice. Only, what was it, 40 seconds behind Mihai? She also had nice resource walls here. I really think this didn't need to go as badly as it did. Maybe all she needed was really the archery range a bit further back around the TC. Going to some archers and skirmishes from there she could have potentially been fine. Well, she wasn't on gold yet at all, so she only really could have gotten one archer. But that wouldn't have been as bad against just the two militia. That would have sufficed, and then skirmishes behind that would have potentially been enough. So it's hard to tell, right? But I feel like that was the biggest problem for her there. But congrats, man! That is the first series of this round robin, and this Romanian team, man, they already took the show match, and here again they get a 2-0 over MbL and Dragon, which should be the #1 favorites for this group in theory. But no, that is the first series of this event already done. And in fact, if we go update the standings here, we now have 1-0 for Mihai and Alex taking their first best of 3, and MbL Dragon to start off this tournament with. drop down 0 to 1. Of course, nothing is decided yet. And even if you don't get first place in the group, you can still get second or third and potentially get well, some prize money with that. But yeah, it is the first game of the tournament, and it's making me excited to see more. So if you're watching on Twitch, I'll end the stream here for just a few minutes, and I'll go back live immediately again with the second series of this tournament that I'll be casting. If you're on YouTube, check out the playlist for this tournament. For some other tournaments, I'm casting a lot of Age of Empires here. I'll actually also be casting a bit of Civilization 3 here, where I'll be running a tournament over the next 2 weeks. So that'll be fun as well, hopefully. Both on Twitch and on YouTube, you'll find some content around that as well. Check out the relevant playlists. And again, on Twitch, I'll be right back here in a few minutes with the next series. Thanks for joining. Congrats to Alexander and Mihai for this win here. And we'll see each other in a minute.